Hello and welcome to yet another adventure in the world of James Bond. You have arrived at the doorstep of Bond Buzz, where we rifle on a weekly basis through the social media and various other media that goes on surrounding James Bond, and obviously when you don't get a movie for a little while, there's masses of it. So we're having to do that. I can't do it all on my own. In fact, if the very truth be known, I do very little of it, which is why I'm very lucky to have my co-host, even if she is all the way out in the branch office with me. It's Bonita Drake. Bonnie, how are you? And what are you? How are you feeling there in Sweden currently?
I'm really good. The weather is very strange. It's hot. We're going out in t-shirts, and then at a certain time, there's thunder, lightning, and rain.
Yep. We have had a very, very. I also like the fact that we often start this podcast with a very English topic, which is what's the weather like with you? But yeah, our weather yesterday, really good example. I went out for lunch and it was lovely. Sun splitting the paving stones. It was gorgeous. Went inside whilst having lunch. There were animals queuing up in pairs at the edge of the arc, desperately trying to get on. It was absolutely torrential downpour, and then finished lunch. And as we were just about to leave, it was as though it had never happened. It was really warm again. It's very confusing at the minute. You never know what's happening. So we're having a similar climate to you there in Sweden, I guess, at the present time.
Yeah, actually, something very strange happened to me in Sweden, which has never happened to me before. And it's,
I'm
I
all
live in an
ears.
apartment. I live in an apartment, and we went out, and it was the three of us. So we had three umbrellas. We left our umbrellas out in the hallway of our apartment block,
Mm.
and somebody went and nicked one of them.
So, who steals umbrellas? Really?
Just the one. Yeah, maybe they thought three
Oh,
was too many for
oh
us.
no, okay. Maybe they thought, bugger, I haven't got an umbrella. What are the odds? Look at this. Umbrellas galore. Maybe it's a pay it forward thing. Maybe they're going to now leave it outside their flat, hoping that somebody else will take it, or one of your lot will then take it back. Because you see those, don't you? You see books, those
Yeah.
places where in supermarkets and stuff, you take a book. I went shopping with my father the other day, and I went, "Look, books." And he went, "Oh, what have we got to do?" I said, "Well, take a book, and the next time we come here, we drop one off. That's how that works." Oh, all right, fine. So maybe it's a new umbrella thing. I don't think we've caught on. People here just take stuff because they think it's funny or they need the money for it, But paying it forward probably isn't something you do with. Maybe it is just something you start doing with an umbrella. So yes, inclement. Although I think it's still quite warm. It was too warm for me as a rule. Um,
I know there's a lot of crime going on in the world and everything like that, but I just wanted to point out that somebody has took one of my umbrellas.
yeah, and I shall get onto Reuters and say to them, now, I think you're spending a great deal of time covering other news stories. I'm aware of this. However, if you want to focus on where it all starts, where the acorn of angst starts, it could be Sweden. Because there's an umbrella guy out there. There's a thief, the umbrella thief. Write this down. This is a book title, the umbrella thief. I've got a feeling it's probably been used already, nevertheless. But I like the idea of it, and we can flesh this out, and then try and keep it away from Richard Osman, because otherwise he'll write a book about it, and we don't want that. As we discussed the other week, and in fact, just before we started recording, we were discussing that as well. So yes, that's how we are at the present time. So if you are listening to us, hello. If you are watching us, hi. And look, and if you are watching us, I'd like you. Are you able to stand up? Is that a thing you do in
I
Sweden? Maybe you
can
can stand up.
like
Look
do
at my
that.
colleagues emblazoning. You don't get this on any other channel, where she's emblazed her across her chest three of the finest crime fighters from right to left: Hercule Poirot, Sherlock Holmes, as he's nicely informed, and Miss Marple. That's very Joan Hickson, Miss Marple, on the left-hand side there. That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed for that. I'm now going for a lie down.
Oh, God, blimey.
And I was out gigging last night. Consequently, This is very early for me. I wouldn't normally be awake anywhere near this, but because you said, "Look, I've got to get back to Stockholm and I've got to do stuff and all this other bits and pieces," I have thrown caution to the wind, and I have got up ridiculously early to travel from my home to my father's house, so that here I am in the studio, so I can do this with you. So yes, that's where we are currently. So if you're watching us, hello, and this will be on YouTube at some point. Today, we're going to be discussing a whole bunch of bits and pieces, and my esteemed colleague will now start you off. Bonnie, what are we starting with today?
What's Bonnie drinking?
Oh, yes. What is Bonnie drinking? Now, again, I have to sort this out from a podcast and from a YouTube point of view. From a podcast perspective, my colleague is holding up a glass, quite a tall glass, little stem on it, and it's containing pink, a pink liquid of some shape or form. One question only before I mention this to our YouTube people. Is it fizzy or non-fizzy?
It's actually, I'm not sure of the English terminology for it. In Sweden, they call it saft. So it's when it's a little bit of liquid and you add water to it.
Oh, it's a cordial. We would call it over here.
Okay.
Okay, so it is not. It is not. It's still. That's the word I was looking for. It is a still drink, but very pink, quite vibrant. And of course, those people on YouTube can see she's now holding it in her right hand, and it looks very much as though she's offering it as a raffle prize. So I personally, now that I know that my whole option as far as a question towards this particular drink has been blown out of the water, because I was going to go the pink gin route, and I'd like to think that at somewhere else in the world at about 10 o'clock in the morning, somebody's going, do you know what? It's Sunday, bugger it. I'm having a gin and tonic. But it's clearly not that. And now, okay, so you've now told me it's still over here. We have of a similar color. We have a pink grapefruit cordial, which I'm quite keen on, by Robinsons. So would it be that? Would it be like a pink grapefruit type thing, or a summer fruits type thing?
Okay. Well, people don't hate me because I did buy this and it's a bit early. Do you want me just to show it or do you want another
Yeah, no, no,
guess?
no, don't show it by all means.
Okay. I don't know if you can read this. It's because it's already in the shops. That's why I bought it. Usually I do not buy things for Christmas
Oh
in
God, not
September.
the C word. Yeah, go on. It's
Can you
called
read that?
Fun Light Santa's Strawberry and Marshmallow. Holy Jesus Christ. So, what we've ascertained from this, ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching, is that my adult colleague has bought a drink which she's really not impressed with, very clearly, judging by the expression on her face there. And I'm not entirely certain what you were expecting it to be when you read the label.
It's
Reading the label alone, I'm several thousand miles from you. I've read the label and already I'm disgusted by the whole thing. And yet you are physically drinking it and making that face. And that face is not going to win anybody um, uh,
a sponsorship deal.
Michelin stars or sponsorship deals. So,
Oh,
who are the makers of this again? So we can torment them on a regular basis. Would you
oh
stop
God,
drinking it if you're going to make that face? Who's?
oh, it tastes like e-numbers.
It's probably washing up liquid. I think they've just reformed it. What? Who
Um,
makes this?
I am not sure. This is the brand I usually, yeah, they're called Fun Light.
Okay,
And they
so
usually do really good ones. I
here is
usually
a
buy it a lot.
here
But
is a what.
this
So
one,
what's wrong with this then? What do you normally buy this? But
yeah.
you obviously don't buy this flavor.
Usually the flavor tells you, it's strawberry and stuff like that, and they stay with fruits. And I like it because it's light. But this particular one, this Christmas one, is quite bad.
Yeah, well, they've gone marshmallow, you see, and that's
Yeah.
clearly the issue.
But it
So
tastes like, and of course, it looks like the stuff you swirl your mouth at the dentist, which doesn't help.
probably is. Um, so to the yeah, please stop drinking that. You're I'm nauseous enough as it is. Um, so to the manufacturers of that particular product, we only have one thing to say: please stop making this product. This is clearly an appalling product. My colleague has tested it on a number of occasions, has sipped it, and consequently makes a face as though sort of germ warfare has broken out, and that can't be great. Can't be a big
No,
selling
it's
point.
not great on the lips either.
No, no. So please don't do that anymore.
Okay. Okay.
I am drinking Pepsi Max because because I need a caffeine rush of some shape or form, but no sugar. That's my issue. My sugar levels presumably will be high enough purely based on adrenaline after my rock and roll evening last night, playing to an audience of 17, I think it was, at one point. How rock and roll am I? We travel all that way to go to a location where, well, we got very excited. We have played there before. I'm not going to name it because that's not fair, but I should, but I'm not. We have played there before, and it's normally a pretty decent venue. And when a sort of big mini minibus turned up and 16 people going, I thought, well, this is not bad. Maybe they're all going to turn up in minibuses. And in point of fact, that was the only minibus that turned up during the course of the evening. They were the only people that arrived. And it was very much live in your living room type experience. But still, nonetheless, we travelled that way. The thing about this job is that it doesn't matter where you go. There can be one person in the audience or 70,000 people. It makes no difference. You're still doing the same thing, and you still get paid, and then you go home, right? But it's much easier when you've got a room full of people or a stadium full of people than it is when you've got nobody at all to get across that message of excitement and enjoyment to those who come out. We've never actually got to the stage where we outnumber the people in the audience. I mean, that is probably maybe that's a goal to rush to. God, wouldn't that be marvelous to have one person show up and the four of us standing there going, well, who's going to be the one to go out and join them? I can't. I have to sit at the back, so it's not me. But still, there we go. So yes, it's Pepsi Max all the way for me. I'm afraid I've had one coffee already, not sufficient, which is presumably why I'm babbling. I'm conscious of the fact I'm gabbling a bit this morning. That's maybe because the adrenaline's still going, and I haven't had enough sleep. Anyway, moving on to the crux of the matter as far as James Bond is concerned. If you're still with us on podcast and on YouTube, God love you. Well done for staying this far. It can only get better after that point. So, Bonnie, our first point today, and I believe it's to do with actors who've turned down the role of James Bond. Where did this turn up? It was Metro. It turned up in Metro, which means it's probably been looted from some other source. What are they trying to say to us?
I don't know how accurate we can value this, but it's interesting that the title is, nine actors that turned down the chance to play James Bond. So I haven't actually looked because I like to look with you. So if we sort of click to the first one, an obvious one, and I know that we're both a fan of, and I absolutely adore him, is
Are
Cary
we
Grant.
are we swiping? How does this work?
Yeah, yep,
Oh,
we're
we are
swiping.
swiping. Okay, sorry, I didn't really understand that at all.
It's okay.
Okay, yes. It says, if I may just briefly read part of the blurb that's attached to the silver screen icon, Cary Grant was reportedly everything the Broccoli team wanted early on when they were casting for Dr. No. The producer's wife, Dana, even called him the best man for the part. The problem, Grant was in his late 50s when there was search for the first Bond, and while he was keen, he only wanted to make one film, while the Bond producers wanted somebody they could build a series around. Okay. While the suave
And I think
Bristol-born actor. Yes, go on.
didn't Ian Fleming have him slightly in mind when he wrote it?
I think there's a lot of things that were influenced by Cary Grant. I mean, he was, you can tick all of the boxes, marked suave. You can mark all those bits and pieces. I mean, yeah, absolutely sensational. But a very good point. Even though the Daily Express comic strip, so in the Daily Express on a weekly basis was a James Bond comic strip from the books depicted. The Bond in that did look very much, if you kind of look at it, not a million miles away from Cary Grant. Really, that sort of. I mean, obviously, Cary Grant. This is also something that is very important. I feel anyway. I don't know whether a lot of people feel it. How many times have you gone on to Facebook and found that somebody has posted a picture and it's in reverse?
Oh, yeah.
They've swapped. It's very clear. It's Roger Moore in Bond in Spy Who Loved Me, and they've posted it. And you go, well, his hair is parted on the wrong side of his head. He parts his hair on the left. These are just fundamental little facts that you can't get away from. But somebody's gone, oh, I'll just post a picture of that. And Carrie, as you know, was a right-handed parter. if I may use that phrase. I don't think I've ever used that phrase before, but his hair naturally falls on the other side of his head, you know. Was that a factor? Was that, you know, well, we don't know. These are other options considered, even though Dana, clearly very good taste, can't falter there. But he only wanted to do one, and he was mid-50s. So I can see that, but I can also see the potential. I mean, you only have to look at him in certain films and go, wow, wouldn't it have been fabulous? And he probably would have been, but maybe for a
I don't
different
know.
role.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you, but I'm actually a Bristolian. So I was born in Bristol.
Bristol.
That's where Bristol, yes. We were living in Bath, but I was born in Bristol
Well,
with the
you
rest.
will.
Yeah. All my father's family's from Bristol, and we absolutely adore Cary Grant and Banksy.
Oh, in that order.
Pretty much, yeah. If you come from Bristol, then you're sorted.
Well, there
You're
we go.
sort
Well, of
of,
course, last
yeah.
year I did the Cary Grant Festival down in Bristol, and it was a wonderful experience to see all of these like-minded people in one place at one time. But that was
I would love to do that. When are they doing it again? Do you know?
I'm hoping it's a yearly thing. I don't know whether I'll be able to get to it this year, but they do it. There's a it was well, it is an aquarium downstairs, and upstairs is this extraordinary viewing theatre. And they've got a huge IMAX screen and IMAX equipment. So we saw North by Northwest in IMAX, which was a sensational experience. And then I think Suspicion, I think was the other. Was it Suspicion or was it?
Notorious?
No, no,
No?
it was the one. It was him and um, Catherine Hepburn. Something the
The
baby in the title.
Philadelphia's. Oh, Bringing Up Baby.
Bringing Up Baby, that's the one I was looking for. I think that was shown as well. But wonderful experience, and of course they do displays and they do some there's remarkable paintings and the street performers and there's all sorts of right in the very city centre there. So we'll find some details and see
Yeah.
if
And
maybe we
hopefully
can.
we're showing North by Northwest at Light or Dark
Mm.
in November.
Is there? Did you say there was going to be another Cary Grant? It was another Hitchcock picture, was it?
I think maybe, yeah, we're not 100% sure yet.
Okay.
The lineup's still shifting with the sand.
Super. Okay, so Cary Grant. So that was the first guy. Yeah, okay, I'll accept that. Number two, and this is a real grey area, right? Because I know a bit about this. They have said at number two, Michael Caine. Michael Caine was one of the hottest actors on the planet in the 60s and 70s. He was strongly considered in the wake of Sean Connery, with offers even being made at one point. Let's stop there. He was never offered the role, absolutely never offered the role. What happened was that, of course, they were dual producers back then, Broccoli and Saltzman. Harry Saltzman had bought the rights on his own, not connected with Broccoli, but had bought the rights to the Harry Palmer books, Len Dayton's books, of course, which were turned into films. And while he was at dinner one night, the waiter had come over to Michael Caine and said, "Sorry, so I've got a note for you." And he gives the note, said, "Thank you." And it's from Saltzman, who said, "Would you come over and have coffee with me after your meal?" He said, "Yeah, sure, okay." And his mate he was with at the time said, "What's that?" He said, "Harry Saltzman wants to have coffee with me." He said, "Bloody hell. They're only going to offer you Bond." I mean, clearly that's what it is. Now, this is, what would this be? This would be part way through Thunderball, I would say, maybe 65, 66 time. And Michael knew Sean very, very well. Right? I mean, they were always very good mates. And so if there was the possibility that he would have been offered the role, Connery would have said, you know, they're looking for somebody and that you'd be, he'd have put something forward, you know. And no disrespect to George Lazenby, but if that had have been the case, that's how that would have gone, you know. So consequently, he went over and he had coffee with Harry, who said, "Do you know Len Dayton?" He said, "Well, I know him as an author." "What about the Ipcress file?" He said, "I'm reading it. I'm literally reading it now." He said, "Well, I've bought the rights to the series of books, and I'd like to make them into a movie, and I'd very much like you to play the Harry Palmer part." He said, "Well, that's fantastic." And that's kind of how that deal was done. But it was on the basis that he was, because Palmer is a complete polar opposite to Bond. Bond is suave and sophisticated. Bond has gadgets. Bond doesn't. Bond. Everybody knows who Bond is. He'll go into a hotel in Timbuktu, and the guy behind the bar will go, "Oh, hello, Mr. Bond. How are you?" Because that's what happens in Bond films. Harry Palmer, nobody knows who he is because he's a spook. He is purely there to work for whoever, and you don't
I
see
love, yeah, I love Harry. Harry, you find in the supermarket and on the bus.
exactly. That's the exact. He's not got his special car. He's got a pool car, or he's traveling on the bus, and he's going to some sort of surveillance thing that he's got to be, or yeah, it's a really you see him do his shopping. He does the horse racing. He does the horses every morning while he has his coffee. He wears glasses. He cooks. I mean, that was another thing that was an issue at the time in Ipcress File. If you remember, when he was cooking for the other agent, the woman, and some of the initial communication and screener information came in and said, "Look, you can't have him cooking. He's not gay." I mean, they were really concerned that a man cooking for a woman would be considered gay back then. This the times that they used to live in back in the 60s. But there's a lovely shot, and it's one of my favorite things in the whole film in Ipcress File. If you've never seen it, please do. It's a wonderful, wonderful film, Ipcress File. Is the alarm goes off. He's in bed, the alarm goes off. He sits upright, he opens his eyes, and then it goes from a camera POV to his POV, and the room is blurred, and the room continues to be blurred. He's opened the curtains, the whole 9 yards. He comes back, he puts his glasses on, and then it's clarity. It's super. It's a really simple idea, and yet it's done really, really well. But Bond wouldn't wear a pair of glasses unless they had a camera in them or they were special sunglasses, that sort of stuff. So, with the greatest respect to the people there, I'm not sure that Michael Caine was ever considered, but it's a nice idea. Who's at number three? Now, number three, again, another very interesting individual, somebody who I have a little bit of a connection with, Liam Neeson, or as he's known in Northern Ireland. I used to live in Northern Ireland, and as he's known in Northern Ireland, he's known as your man from Ballymena. Hey, the big lad from Ballymena, because he came from Ballymena, which is I used to live just outside there in a place called Kells, and it says Irishman Liam Neeson, fresh from Schindler's List, 93, 93. Reportedly bowed out of the Bond race due to a very personal reason. His future wife, Natasha Richardson, gave him an ultimatum: play Bond and they wouldn't marry. He chose love over the role of 007 in 1995's GoldenEye. Neeson has to wait a few years before he could brag about having a very particular set of skills. I think, this is my opinion, not doing Bond was maybe one of the best things that Liam Neeson ever did. Because although I love the guy, I think he's absolutely fabulous. And he is a really massive part of Northern Ireland's culture. There are murals to him. There's a theatre there where the big pictures of him, Kenneth Branagh, and Ciarán Hinds outside the building, because all of these individuals from Belfast. And I think that his take on action and being not a spy as such, but certainly somebody who is spying, whether it be for himself from a private investigation point of view, I think he's in much better hands in the movies where we've seen him do that job, like the Taken films, for instance. What do you think about Liam Neeson? You're a Neeson fan? He goes in sort of fits and starts with a lot of people.
Yeah, I like him. I don't watch a film just because he's in it, but he doesn't disappoint if I watch a film with him in it. I like, Taken, the first one. And he's amazing in Derry Girls. I did not realize he was that funny.
He is funny.
Uh,
He is funny.
my yeah, my only problem with this little bit of reporting is I always have a problem when you don't know. Even if he told me that his wife, who I'm sure, I don't think anyone is that like, if you do that, I won't do this. So I'm suspicious that his wife stopped him, his future wife. To me, it sounds a bit like, even if Liam told me himself, I would think, oh yeah, and your dog ate your homework.
Yeah, it's a good story, isn't it? I mean,
Mm.
and also, we don't know when this story came out, Natasha, of course, sadly died a couple of years. I don't know how many years. In a skiing accident. It was an absolutely dreadful situation. He was in a very dark place for a very long time. And the Taken movies were maybe a way of him coming out of that and being accepted again. I can do this. I can do the acting again. And given the right material and given the right set of circumstances and various bits and pieces, he's very, very good. He is very, very good. I think he's a terrific actor. Um, a lot of people will say that he plays Liam Neeson a lot of the time, and we had this conversation earlier. We were talking about somebody else, but I think Sean Connery plays Sean. As I said then, Sean Connery plays Sean Connery in every movie. It doesn't matter what he's cast as a Spaniard, as a Russian, as an Irishman. He plays Sean Connery, and he plays them as a Spanish, as an Irish, as a Russian Scotsman because he doesn't change his accent. But within moments, you are completely accepting of Sean Connery in that role, and I am perfectly accepting of if Liam Neeson was supposed to be, I don't know, an Indian bank manager, I'd kind of go, really? And then within 10 minutes, I go, okay, fine. Because he just does that. I think he's very, very compelling. With the greatest respect, I will say that Naked Gun is a bridge too far for him. I don't really think that that was a great idea. It's a lovely idea that he would, that would do do it and try and make a success of it and just play it off with a whole bunch of bravado and humor and fair play to him. Personally, oh, it was a tricky watch. It really was. And now he's got new love with Pamela, after spending time on the picture together.
Allegedly. I
Allegedly,
mean, it's weird. One minute they are, then they said it was a publicity stunt, then they're saying no, we wouldn't do that. So who knows? Me personally, I'm a romantic at heart. I'd love to think that they're together.
I would like to think so too. And I would also like to think that if it wasn't Pamela, it might be me. Because I would happily step into her shoes. I think he's absolutely lovely. But could he have been Bond in '95? No, 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 no. And I think he's made the right decision. Pierce was absolutely perfect. GoldenEye, as we all know, was spectacular. Tomorrow Never Dies, wonderful, and the rest. Well, I think he got mugged, but I think that certainly GoldenEye wouldn't have worked if it hadn't have been Pierce, in my opinion. So Liam Neeson, I don't think so. I daren't scan next to find out who's. Okay. So the next one on this list, and I think is quite important because of the period and the time, and it's not difficult to accept an offer being placed, maybe. And it is Adam West. Adam West, the late TV legend behind the original television Batman. Mr. Adam West was twice considered for Bond. Twice, but turned it down both times. According to friends, he thought the role should belong to a Brit. He felt he wasn't the right fit for that posh spy stereotype. It's a dilemma that had plagued the physique of many. No, that's not right. I've read that completely wrong. Let me reread that line. It's a dilemma that has plagued the psyche. See what I've done there? I've looked at the word psyche and said physique, bizarrely. Of many an American actor over the years, can someone born stateside play the great British spy? Adam West wasn't convinced, and so it was kapow to the role. I see what they've done there. Yeah, I see that. Adam West.
I don't, yeah, I don't know much about Adam West. I only know him as Batman,
Yeah.
and he plays, well, he did play South Park, wasn't he? The mayor in South
Yes,
Park.
that's right. Yeah.
So I don't know much about him. I'm sorry for anyone who's a fan. I don't construe him to be able to do Bond.
Oh,
I
I
can't
think that
believe that they tried twice.
outside. Well, this is the. I don't know when the twice was. Outside of Batman, of course, Batman's alter ego is Bruce Wayne is suave, sophisticated, and looks very good. And Adam West back in 60, whatever it was, 64, 65, 66, looked very good. And the idea that you could transform from that character to the Batman character and nobody would know who you were, you take it to a slightly different level with Superman, where it's, oh, you're wearing a pair of glasses, clever. And so, that they've gone the whole hog with him. I wonder if they had suggested it maybe because they'd knocked out Bonds every year from Doctor No through to Thunderball. Um, yeah, I mean there was a hiatus between 65 and 67 primarily because they were building the huge volcano on the back lot for You Only Live Twice. Um, and Sean seriously wanted to walk away after that experience in Japan, so that could have been the first time. And then presumably again when he said, "Right, I'm definitely not coming back this time," and before they took on George, maybe he was again looked at uh, after the George, or maybe after George leaving and before Sean coming back. I don't know for Diamonds. So, but funnily enough, they said hasn't played a spy. He did actually play a spy in Hooper, the Burt Reynolds movie about the stuntman. So the character that Burt is doubling right the way through the movie is Adam West. Adam West is playing the spy character that who just had to have the stick-on moustache so that Burt didn't need to shave his off for the movie. But yeah, so he is playing a spy in that and says these lines like, "Make me look good, Sonny." Okay, Adam. Yeah, no problem. Because he's playing himself. So I think that that's as far as the spying got. But I don't know. I think
I think American could play Bond. I mean, I was in uproar when Robert Downey Jr. got Sherlock Holmes, and I think he did an amazing Sherlock
yes, I did.
Holmes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was in uproar when the same actor got Charlie Chaplin, and I can't picture anybody else playing Charlie Chaplin now except Robert Downey Jr.
Yep. Point taken.
So I think there are a couple of actors, and the same with Bridget Jones's Diary. I'm not going to attempt to say her name.
Renee Zellweger. I'll do it for you.
Thank you. I think she's amazing as a Brit, and I can't believe that she's pulled that off. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be against it, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone that I would suggest who's an American.
Yeah, the general consensus was and Cubby had made it very clear it has to be, or Michael Wilson had said it certainly, a Brit or European. Now, European now in what are we 2025 is very different to what a European could have been in 1995, and there is so much of a split between European countries these days, which is why it's always very concerning for me anyway when I see oh, I don't know, German actors, or I see French actors, or I see Malaysian actors, being put in the same list as your Harris Dickinsons and your general run of the mill list of Bond contenders who just happen to be British. I just go, why are you here? Why are these people in this list? It makes no sense to me. I mean, they've already been through this already. Pierce is not an exception. He is, I played Remington Steele, uh, Irish, born in Ireland, but because of the time when he came over to the US, had developed, as he says himself, this transatlantic twang, which was accepted both sides of the pond. And it worked, it absolutely worked. Adam West, an extremely American accent. Mel Gibson, a very Australian accent, and yet apparently he
Who
was offered at
actually
some
is
point.
a Brit.
Who is oh, yes, of course, but not. I mean, not for very long. But yes, all right. From a
No.
a paperwork perspective, born here, I'll accept that. But you know, there are things that I think you always have to take into consideration. Yes, it would appeal to an international audience, but the character, you have to grab hold of the character and go, look, this is sacred. This bit here is absolutely sacred. You can't just throw that away because this guy's had four box office hits all of a sudden. You have to take this and go, no, 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 no. This is more important. So Adam West is down as number 4. Who is number 5? Ah, I kind of know this story as well. At number 5, it says on this list, is Sir Michael Gambon, as he later became. Auditioned for the role of 007 in the lead up to production of Diamonds Are Forever. But he himself told Eon boss Cubby Broccoli that he was too bald and double-chinned to convince us Bond. Cubby, however, only partly disagreed. He loved Gambon's charisma and screen presence and suggested that he had, with a hairpiece, little subtle makeup, and some clever uplighting, Gambon could become Ian Fleming's creation with ease. While flattered, the actor wasn't convinced and pulled out of the race. Um, I'd love to have seen Michael Gambon just for sheer comedic value because unbelievably funny at the best of times. Um,
I think
uh,
he's an amazing actor, but there's no sex appeal there at all.
no, no,
I don't know what Chubby Cubby was thinking, but
chubby
no.
broccoli.
Chubby Cubby. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
chubby
know what
cubby.
he was thinking, but like, no way. No,
Um,
that's
I
not my
think
Bond.
I think Gambon's quite right. I think that he would, but for saying, look, with the greatest respect, my agents put me forward for this, but I don't want to do it. I'm too bald. I'm too this. I'm too that. It's ridiculous. And he does get bored a lot. That is also the other thing which he said on a number of occasions, particularly with press junkets. So when you do the film, I mean, he's very serious about doing his job properly, knowing his lines, knowing everybody else's lines, making sure that everybody's at ease when they're around him. But he does get incredibly bored, and in fact has a number of sort of stock in phrases that he's getting bored when you're at a press junket. And there are certain phrases he will say to the people on the press junket with him, whether it be the other actors or the producers or whatever. Often the actors, very rarely goes in that direction with the producers for this either. But with the other actors, he will say, "Today's word of the day is klimped," or some other word. He will pick a word out of the newspaper, that word, and they all have to use that word at some point during the course of an interview, and they get marks for it. And then once they've done that, then they have to say, what was one phrase? He had to use the phrase Claudia Schiffer's thighs. That was the phrase that needed to be used. And so everybody had to then use that at some point from various members of because on a press junket, you're speaking to like 26 countries and they're all going to ask you the same question over and over again. So it gets very boring. So he's a bit of a loose cannon, God love him. But again, you saw what he was capable of in Layer Cake. Wonderful. Really good. And the Singing Detective, if you've never seen Singing Detective, um, it's absolutely astonishing. Not the Robert Downey Jr. remake, which was utter cock from start to finish. And that's not a description you'll find in the Daily Telegraph on a regular basis, but nonsense, utter nonsense. The original BBC television series, Dennis Potter's fabulous The Singing Detective. Michael Gambon is the star, and he is as perfect can be. If you've never seen it, please see it. I urge you to do so. It's magnificent, but not a
Number
Bond.
six. Yeah, I
Number
can't wait for you
six.
to. Number six, this guy just reeks of sex appeal.
Yes, he does. But the likelihood of him being offered the role, I think, again, is absolute nonsense from start to finish. We're talking, of course, about The Voice. No, not Frank Sinatra. Richard Burton. Ian Fleming, it says here, and I'm quoting, Ian Fleming was a huge fan of Richard Burton and thought that he had just the right brooding edge for Bond. But Burton, rather, was skeptical of the, at the time, unproven concept of a womanizing spy. That wasn't the only issue. Stopping the Welshman and 007 from linking up and becoming one. He wasn't that keen, but could have been convinced if the price was right. The price, however, was not right. Burton apparently asked for too much money, so the deal fell through.
I think
Not
that sounds like a lot of actors. You do have to pay them.
Yes, you do, but this will, because we're talking money. Let's talk about the money firstly. Because we're talking money, then this particular story will be from about 64, 65 time. He'd just done a very successful run of Hamlet on Broadway, um, which I think was directed by Sir John Gielgud, if I'm not mistaken, and was wowing critics left, right, and centre. Very much a Shakespearean jukebox, a bit like Judi Dench's. Now, if you poke her with a she will give you a sonnet, because she has them. She has thousands of them in her head. She knows them, and they're either like a few words or they are 10 minutes of monologue. But she knows them all, word for word, phrase for phrase, pause for pause, everything. he would do exactly the same thing when he wasn't pissed, was a lot of the time, as you know. Um, and was a very dark and brooding character, primarily because he had no idea how to be Richard Burton. Well, a lot of the time, he needed a lot of people around him, like Elizabeth Taylor, to try and give him some sort of stability. And eventually, she then said, "Oh bugger it, he looks like he's having more fun than I am. We'll join forces," and that made it worse for each other. So I
He was
appreciate
amazing in The Spy Who Came In From the Cold.
absolutely one of the best spy films ever, no questions asked. And again, if you've never seen that, please find it, go and get it somewhere. It'll be available somewhere. It's a wonderful depiction of how real spies at that time would be working. If you look at Harry Palmer, you look at him, these are two very, very similar characters in that respect. Um, a good actor, there's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. But he wouldn't have been able to sustain that. And I say we talked about them. Let me talk about the money again. I meant to ask it and then sidetracked myself. But he knew what his worth was after being the most successful actor on stage. Everybody assumed back then that when he started doing movies, he turned his back on his gift, which was being a stage actor. Um, and he knew that he was worth this amount of money. And if you weren't prepared to pay that sort of money, then there's no point talking to me. And this would have been outside of an agent, I would have suspected. His agent would have said one thing, but he would have thrown his two penneth in and said, no, 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 never mind that. If you are not paying this sum of money, I'm not interested. It's that simple. And he would have been very, very adamant about that, which is a great shame. But that's Richard Burton for you.
I would
And
have loved to have seen Richard Burton. That would have been amazing.
he's, yeah, he's I mean, for me, he goes again in fits and starts. There's probably four or five movies which are really very good. A fair batting average. Beckett is, I think, one of very very good pictures. Um, but as Bond, not convinced. I'm not convinced. But I think Spy Who Came In From This Cold, brilliant performance as a spy, absolutely. So that's number six. Number seven. We're
Number
getting
seven.
we're getting along. Let me scroll this way.
I am not
Um,
fussed on number seven. I'm going to go against the trend. I know a lot of people like him, but no, there's something about him. I just don't like him.
something about him you just don't like.
Yeah, I know my husband loves him as Batman and he loved American Psycho, but for me, no, maybe, what's the one he does as a kid? The Sun.
Empire of the Sun with Steven Spielberg.
Empire. Yeah, he's good in that, but
Right. Okay.
that's it.
You will have gathered from the titles that have been bandied about. We're talking about Christian Bale, another Welsh-born actor keen to sidestep the Bond job was Christian Bale, who was approached later in the Bond timeline. Barbara Broccoli was super keen on signing him up. Who'd recently he played Patrick Bateman. Oh, so it's after that, was it? I see. And producers knew he looked good in a tailored suit, but the future Batman joked that he'd already played a psycho and wasn't eager to continue the trend with Bond. A wry, polite, and actually refusal. American Psycho has a lot of people split down the middle. If you either love the movie, and it's a remarkable performance by him in the character. Um, he is
The book, I've been told by my husband, the book is so much better.
Well, it's often the case, but with I mean, I saw the movie first, then read the book a few years later. Um, the movie is compelling to say the least, and if the movie was a book on its own, you would just incredible page turner. You never know what's going to happen next, and there's so much going on behind the eyes in the character and probably Christian Bale. We know that Christian Bale is a very method actor, right? You need to play a guy who's lost 12 stone in weight and only eats worms every Thursday. Oh, right. Well, I'll do that then for 2 months. And that's exactly what he does, you know? Um, who was having a conversation the other day, and I caught a bit of it, was um,
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I was talking about. I know that there were people screaming at the podcast then and going, Gary Oldman, what's wrong with you? I know, but it's so early. Um, Gary Oldman was saying that when he does stuff and he has to play an American, he has to stay in that accent because what's really, really confusing from an actor's perspective, particularly if you don't do it very often, and particularly if it's a dialect that you can do an American accent, everybody can do an American accent, but often it's a California accent because they are open to that very, very all the time with television, with film and bits and pieces. It's often a very standard accent. When you're asked to do New England, when you're asked to do Washington DC, when you're asked to do something else, those accents they change, they move around, vowels and things they lean on each other, and all sorts of bits and pieces. When you're doing that, as he said himself, he can't afford to come out of that because that means that you have to then relearn or follow your steps over and over again to get back to where you were. So, on the occasions when his family have arrived on set to see him, he stays in character the whole time because he has to. Because as soon as he drops out of that character, he is done and he can't get back into it again. Christian Bale takes that to an absolute new level where not only will he stay in character on set, but when he's not on set, when he's at home for the duration of those films, if his family's around him, whatever it is, he's in character the entire time and continues to live as that character just to maintain that appearance, that look, that sound, that something that's going inside the character's head. You can't do that with Bond. I don't think you can. I don't think because that's the issue. As all the other
Mm.
actors who've played Bond have experienced, that whole typecasting thing is one thing, but people will assume that you are Bond. Pierce Brosnan once said he was taking his family on a short flight from Florida Keys to somewhere else. I forget where he was going. And the pilot of the plane, he was sat in the front because he's the tallest. And at the time, and then his family was three, four behind. It was sat behind him. And the pilot says to him, do you want to take the controls? And he went, no, why? He went, well, you're James Bond. He went, I don't fly. Oh, I just thought that. No, 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 just don't ever offer that again. That sort of thing. People do that. I also think that Connery had met, in point of fact, that's right. Billy Connolly Jimmy Tarbuck, very English references here, folks, if you're listening for overseas, but Google Jimmy Tarbuck, wonderful Liverpudlian comedian, great mates with Sean, playing golf somewhere in Scotland, I think, and somebody had collapsed. Somebody collapsed in the bar. Sean wasn't there. He was upstairs in his room. And they said, my God, what are we going to do? We should call an ambulance. And somebody said, no, 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 call Sean. He'll know what to do. So they rang Sean in his room and click, hello. And the guy said, Sean, Jesus, I'm sorry. He said, but so and so's collapsed in the bar here, and we know that you know him, and we were worried, and we thought you'd know what to do. And he said, is he pissed? Well, he's not. He's had a few drinks, certainly. Give him tomato juice, stick him on the sofa, and leave him. He'll be fine. Right, really? Yeah, okay. Also, don't ring me again. See you in the morning. And he put the phone down, click. And then, sure enough, your man was right as rain the following morning. But instead of, then the first option was ring an ambulance. And somebody else said, no, 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 ring Sean. What the hell? Don't do that, because that's not how this works. And I think that a typecasting issue is there. And as much of a fabulous actor as Christian Bale is, he would have struggled really with the idea of uh, dipping in and dipping out of the character of Bond, because if back then, if you were making them every couple of years or whatever you were doing, well, you'd be doing something else and doing something else, and he might be stuck in character in a role that was really difficult and tricky subject matter to then come back and do Bond. I'm not sure that would work. I'm not sure he'd be able to cope with that. So, but you don't like him. You don't like him. Why? Why don't you like him? Is it because of
Uh,
that? Is it because of his characterizations or him as an individual? Because apparently he's a lovely guy.
maybe. Maybe it's the characters that he's played and that he's so good at them, but no, I'm just not fussed on him. Sorry, not in his fan club, not one of his stalkers.
Well, if it's any consolation, he speaks very highly of you. So I think that that's only fair. But So not Christian Bale, not everybody's cup of tea, but super actor though, and I like the idea that he might have been a consideration. Um, number eight, we touched on briefly before. Number
And this
eight,
is somebody, yeah, this is somebody who can only be an American. He's
yes,
unconvincing as anything but an American.
yeah. I mean, he does do a very good, or did do, sorry, no longer with us, but did do a very good Cary Grant. Or actually, he did Tony Curtis doing Cary Grant, which is not necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
But he used to do that impersonation quite often. And it is Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds admitted he turned down Bond because he thought and said that an American can't play James Bond. He later mused it was a fairly dumb reason and claimed that he maybe couldn't have pulled it off. Could you see an American Bond with a big, thick, dark moustache? Yeah, so can we, it says sarcastically here. The moustache was the least of his concerns, as he made it very clear. He's played lots of. For also, the moustache is such a massive part of Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds. He's made many movies without it, but once he got that moustache, and it became part of him, they may even have been contracted together. As I mentioned earlier, in Hooper, the actor Adam West, who Burt Reynolds' character Sonny Hooper was doubling for, had a stick-on moustache. Well, but a stuntman having a beard or being having a moustache back then always struck me as being a very odd thing, very strange thing. It's actually quite commonplace these days. A lot of people have, a lot of men, women, I was going to say that's not right. A lot of men, stunt performers have facial hair in some shape or form, but maybe they grow it faster. I don't know. You can shave it off for a certain role, or you're wearing a mask or whatever it is. Back then, you know, having a mask, having that wasn't really an option unless you were doing a fire job. So, but he does say himself, and I think this is on film, on video and stuff, that yeah, no, you can't have an American do it, and maybe you couldn't, but he was considered because he was a very physical guy. His physical, and bear in
I
mind
think,
that they'd signed John Gavin, right? When Connery left, they signed John Gavin. When George Lazenby left, I beg your pardon, they signed John Gavin, who later became, was he special envoy from, he was in the Congress, I think, the American Congress. Um, and he was James Bond. He was signed to do James Bond for Diamonds Are Forever. That was him. And then they got Sean back for a ridiculous sum of money. But Cubby very rightly, and I think that was, and again, another mark of the man was, no, we've promised him this. He's been signed. Pay him. And they paid him the full amount, which was fair play. But so an American was signed to play Bond. Um, Burt Reynolds, although a very physical guy, um, and under certain circumstances, if Roger's Bond, lovely, light comedy, just what you need. Bert's Bond, Bert would have broke the fourth wall almost every other word. He'd have looked directly into camera and had that little laugh. Oh no, when you think about it now, it's the little traits that he does. And Bert's a lovely. There's so many roles that I like Burt Reynolds in. He's never really considered as a very good actor, but there's lots of movies that I think, yeah, it's a Burt Reynolds movie. I'll watch this because it's fun. It'll be fun, but I can't see it as Bond. I can't see him as Bond with or without the moustache. It doesn't work.
I remember I saw an interview way back with Don Johnson, and he was talking about the fact that he did Shakespeare in the Park in New York,
Yeah,
and he said it was the biggest, worst disaster ever
yeah,
because they all did it with American accents. And
yeah.
it was just, he said it was just like, yeah, you do
The,
not do Shakespeare
there
with
is
an
that
American
wonderful
accent.
story. It was a charity evening, which had been, I forget who had been put together, but it was one of the great big children's charity organizations in America at the time. This would have been early 70s, maybe. And all the celebrities were there, and there were lots of celebrities bidding for this and bidding for that. And there was no holds barred here. And somebody had bid three, $400,000 to have John Wayne read Shakespeare, right? Because the two don't go hand in hand. And so, I think Duke even threw in a couple of 100,000 himself to make it up to just over $500,000. And he got up on the stage and he took the piece of paper and he says, "To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the who wrote this shit," he said, was the line that he said. The whole room fell apart. And that's a really good example of why you should never get American to do it. Although, because Shakespeare's always written in a certain idiom that phrasing, and if you don't understand the phrasing, you don't understand the pausing. The ability to pause between lines with an accent and do that must be made very, very difficult. But I do like the idea that, I mean, and Don Johnson, I think, is right to a point. I think there's a certain point, but the John Wayne proving that you can't do it all. There are some things that you are very good at and some things you're not good at. So that's number 8. We've got one more to go. Is it 9 or 10?
Yep. 9.
9. So we've had all of these so far, and the last one. The last one. Now, this turned, yes, okay, offered. I appreciate this. The number 9 is our friend Pierce Brosnan. And it says, and I will quote from the Blumph here, with a photograph taken, I would say probably mid-80s, it says here. The suave and handsome Pierce Brosnan actually got the role of Bond in the mid-1980s after auditioning for The Living Daylights. He even filmed a scene test for the film, but the trouble was he couldn't get out of his Remington Steele TV contract. And when the show was renewed for another series, he had to pull out. He was heartbroken at the time, although it was good news for Timothy Dalton. Even eventually, he did become Bond. Of course, the Thursday Murder Club star, as he's now referred to, Thursday Murder Club star, played the deadly secret agent in 4 films between 1995 and 2002. The only reason that he lost the role of Bond is because he was offered the role of Bond. That's absolutely, I mean, there is no other way around it. He was too young. Absolutely was too young. Should never have done it.
I like Timothy, and The Living Daylights is one of my favorite.
It's a wonderful film, yeah. Living Daylights, License to Kill, 2 terrific Bond movies.
You brought me round on License to Kill.
Yes.
I absolutely hated it. You made me watch it again, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so many good things to take out of. I mean, the amount of grief that it gets on a regular basis, but it's a really good Bond movie. He's a really good Bond. It's the first time that you see Bond doing that thing that then Daniel Craig made, almost second nature. Every mission was a vengeance thing, and this and that, and also, well, he had it in bucketfuls. So yeah, 2 great films. Could Pierce have pulled that off? With the greatest respect to Pierce, I don't think he could have. Not to the same ability. Not now you've seen Timothy doing it. It would have been nice to let him have a go, but no. But again, the only reason he lost out, MTM, the company that owned Remington Steele, thought, bloody hell, our actor's being poached for Bond. We might get another series out of this, and they just pitched it, and they've been given another series, So they've only themselves to blame, really. Pierce has only himself to blame for playing so bloody good. If he was lousy, he wouldn't have been offered the role in the first place. But he was certainly, when 95 came around, that was perfect casting, and fair play to him. But I've always been really miffed at the idea that he was offered it back then, and then MTM said, "Oh, I'll have a slice of this cake," and then lost out, and then lost out the role again back at the end of his tenure because they wanted to go back to. They suddenly got Casino. Oh, let's do something with Casino. We've now got it. I know. Let's get rid of the actor that's playing Bond. Okay, so they got rid of him and then reshot the whole. It's just, I think it was very poorly done. I think it could have been done better. But yes, so there we go. They are the 9 actors. Could have been, might have been, should have been, had a go at, didn't get round to doing Bond back from the 1960s or the 1960s onwards. And thank you very much again, Bonnie, for pitching that in my direction. Good fun that was. What would you like to do now? Oh, we've got a thing from, is it Esquire?
Yes.
Not the Daily Mail,
So,
but Esquire magazine. Go ahead.
Let's see if we can do this together. This is who will actually be the next James Bond question, an in-depth
I
analysis.
find that difficult to accept. In-depth analysis and Esquire in the same sentence. Let's
Now
see
they're
how we
going to
get
let
on.
me do this or not. So the first one is Tom Holland.
Oh, is
I
it?
have.
Oh, I know. We're looking
Yeah.
at. You must be looking at a different one to me. It doesn't give Tom as an option as far as the UK version is concerned.
Oh, bugger.
Yeah,
We
it says
followed the same link. Oh, it's under. So the first one's Tom Holland and then the next one's Eddie. Okay, I'll do Tom
mm,
Holland for you
you do
then.
Tom
I think
Holland.
Tom Holland. Tom Holland would be amazing. So I'm going to hit yes.
Okay.
And bugger, only 15% of the people that bothered said yes.
Yeah, they're heightist. I mean, that's all it is. It's a heightist thing.
Mm.
I mean, it's purely. Again, I think he's wonderful. I think in 10 years' time he would be sensational. Um,
Maybe that's why it's only 15%.
yeah,
Maybe it's
maybe.
also his
It's
age.
got a huge proportion to do with height, though, which I find fascinating. I appreciate that Bond is a is an imposing figure, um, and maybe he does need to be 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 foot at a push. Okay, just because the other actors have been, that's fair enough. I see that. But
No, I don't
if
think
we've
it's a big
moved on
thing.
with
And
the
I
character, I
think
don't think it's that important, is it?
And I also think it's what are you sending out there to people that are not, who are around 5'10"? You know, my husband's 5'10". Oh, he's 5'8" though, isn't he?
Mm. And I'm 5'7.5", but I
Oh,
don't think
Daniel
of myself as
Craig. Yeah, Daniel Craig's 5'10".
yeah.
And you
But
wouldn't think that. You just cast.
I think he was short.
Mm.
Um,
But okay, the next one's Eddie.
Next one's
I
Eddie.
do not.
Um,
I'm gonna vote against Eddie.
yeah, you do the voting because I've noticed that I can't do anything with this at all. It's not allowing me
Okay.
to do bits and pieces. I don't think that's right. Some of the bump here says Eddie Redmayne seemed like an outside choice for Bond for a while back there. Too waifish, too thespy, too blonde. Then came last year's The Day of the Jackal. With the greatest respect, and again, I know I use that phrase too often as well. He is effectively copying the role of Edward Fox, who played the Jackal in the original. It's a terrific performance, not him. He is playing the character, and I still think that he's maybe
Mm.
not the best frame, not the best form. I don't care about the hair color particularly. That's not an issue. What have the voting public said?
I haven't got books for him for some
This is
reason.
going well then.
Yeah, okay, let's go on to the next one. We do have a box. Michael
Ah,
Fishbender.
Michael Fine.
Have I said it? Fassbender?
Yes,
Fishbender?
Fassbender. Fassbender.
Fassbender?
The word fish
Fassbender.
does not appear in it, but I like the idea that you might want to bend your herring. Should that be a thing that you maybe that's something you do in Sweden. Herring bending. Uh
Okay, we have a
fish
box for
fish
him.
bender.
And
Absolutely
I'm
wonderful.
I'm against. I'm
If
against Michael. I've tried to watch what's it called Black Bag,
yeah,
and I watched 5 minutes. It was ridiculous.
yeah, it's daft.
It was beyond stupid.
It says here, if you are a betting man, a quality of which James Bond would no doubt approve. Bookies are offering between 20 to 1 and 66 to 1 on Michael Fassbender becoming the next 007. That's a far better bet than backing, say, a similar priced horse in the Grand National. In fact, in the last 120 runnings of the world's most famous horse race, 14 winners started at odds of 50 to 1. This is absolute nonsense writing. I don't know who's writing this. It's complete bunkum from start to finish. Fassbender, again, I don't really have an issue. I've got a box for this as well. Okay. I like the
Oh, cool.
guy. Um,
I voted no.
you voted no. All right, I'm going to vote yes on the basis just to see what it. So you're voting no. How many people say no?
45% at the moment. I don't know if yours will make a difference.
No. Now
45%.
says 54% no, 46%
Ah,
yes. So it's gone the other way. Now the next choice is somebody that we've mentioned on the show already, Josh O'Connor.
yeah,
Um,
who played a young Prince Charles. I mean, you know what I got a
you,
problem with, and he's definitely got two of them on the side of his
Well, so is the king. I mean, with the greatest
Yep.
respect,
So
I
I
can't think about
like
having a
Joss
conversation about King Charles's lugs at this
in
point.
I like Joss in challenges. Yeah, I like Joss in challenges, but he's not Bond for me. So, oh, and I didn't get a box for him. So it alternates whether you get a box or not.
Okay, I've got a
Did you
box,
get
so
a
I can do. Yes, I
box?
have on this occasion.
Oh,
Um,
I've got it one now.
having managed to make you
I'm
feel
gonna go
sorry,
no. I've got a box now.
having managed to make you feel sorry for Prince Charles on the crown, a man with more money than God and access to more polo ponies than you can waggle a big long mallet at. Oh dear, this is tricky writing here. The real leap forward for Josh O'Connor.
I went with no.
Blah de blah. Have they given anything beneficial? This is just terribly well, poorly written. I'm going to say yes. You said no. Wow, 88% saying no and 12% saying yes. The next one is the Aaron Taylor Johnson dude. I'm going to
I
say
think my problem with him is I can't take him seriously.
yeah.
He looks like he's a cheeky little bugger. I think he played the Artful Dodger and he played, I think, a young Charlie Chaplin in the Shanghai Nights or Shanghai Noon,
Okay.
the sequel. So I can't take him seriously. So I'm going to say no.
He also played John Lennon. Um, I I don't have again. I don't have a problem with him, and I'd like to think that when he is involved in a project, then it would be he'd be fully immersed in it. But I think he comes along with a great deal of baggage. His wife being some of it, because I think that she's driving his career in certain directions, beneficially or not. But I think that would need to be. What did you say? Yes or no?
No.
You said no. All right. Just for contrast, I'm going to say yes, but I don't think he's somebody I'd like to have a look at. 53% say no. Yes is 47%. We then have some dude who I've never heard of before, Jamie Campbell Bower. Very much an outsider. There are reasons to think that he might be a long shot to back here. He's very good looking. Not in that
Um,
picture. He's very good looking, which never hurts. He's about the right age. He's slight and has an elfin kind of face. So we're liking him, but we're not going to go with Eddie Redmayne for having exactly the same elfin approach. Yeah. Bauer's also got a bit of cachet from Stranger Things. Oh, that's where it came from, was it? Okay. Um, well, I'll say
I
no.
think he's in full makeup in that one, so I don't think you'd notice it was him.
I just think it's a
But yeah, only what's that? 6% said yes.
yeah. 6% say yes, 94 say no, which I think is absolutely right.
And then the next
Then
one.
it's your old pal Jonathan Bailey, the British actor who is in the centre of the Venn diagram of Bond hopefuls' qualities: right age, right theatrical background, including productions at the Don Mel Warehouse and at the National as well. Blah de blah, blah de blah, blah de blah, and has a stalker. So there we go. That's you, and you're going to say
Yep,
yes.
yep.
We're both going to hit the yes
Yes.
button, and we find out that nobody wants to have a slice of this man at all. 57% say no.
But
43.
43 say yes.
Yeah, but it's that difference of opinion, which is where we are at the present time. Maybe they've stumped their money with Barry Keogh or Barry Keegan. I never
Now,
know how to pronounce that word.
Barry's interesting because I've seen him in stuff and I like him. But you know how when you walk down the street or something, there seems to be only so many faces. So people remind you of other people. You say, oh, my kid's teacher looks like somebody I grew up with, or I saw somebody on the bus that looked like my dad. Nobody, I think, on the planet looks like Barry except Barry.
Yeah, he looks like he was created in a test tube. Um,
He is so unique.
he also looks like he was dressed by Stevie Wonder, which is very interesting in this
I
picture.
don't think he's very tall. I got a funny suspicion he's quite a short little guy.
Right. While I read this, you Google how tall he is.
Okay.
He does look very small, to be fair. It says here, and again, I'm not happy reading all of this written by Squire because it's absolute nonsense. However, of the new school of soft, interesting leading men, one is riding higher than anyone else at the minute, and all had to do with drink that bathwater, shag a grave, and boogie through a country pile in the nip. Keegan, I'm going to refer to him as Keegan, has transferred from one to watch lists to straight up must watch in the last 6 months because of he's got indie credit through the Banshees of Inisherin. I did see some of that. I thought he was very good. The Green Knight and the Killing of Sacred Deer. But he's also popped up in Marvel and a DC movie, and Saltburn gave him a big heave ho over the top. For me, it's a big flat no. Absolutely. How tall is he? Did you find it?
Yes. How tall was Tom Holland again?
5'8", 5'9".
He's 5'8".
Right. Okay. So therefore,
So that's just crap because
and
nobody's
yet
worrying about him.
87% say no.
Nope. Uh, uh,
15% who are clearly drunk. Paul Mescal is the next two. There, everybody looks too young these days. He's just too young for me.
I like him, but not for this part.
No,
I liked him in After Sun. I thought he gave a great performance. I haven't seen it, but my husband told me that he's awful in Gladiator, and that's just an awful film.
good to know.
But I know Pierce Brosnan likes him, but it's a no for me.
When you're in a situation where you were a Bond and people go, "What do you think of your man? Is he good?" What are you going to do? You're not going to go, "No, he's shit." He's going to say yes. He's going to say, "Yeah, yeah, they're all terrific. They'll all bring something new to the role." This is actors' way of going, "Would you just leave me alone? I don't care. I'm not involved anymore. Leave me alone." And
I'm
yet they
surprised how low his figures are. Have you voted?
I'm surprised how low his yes
The
is,
yeses are.
or how high
Yeah,
his yes
yeah.
is, frankly.
No,
Uh,
I thought more people would like him.
so
He's only
80% have
got
said no,
20%.
20%.
Mm.
Callum Turner, photograph here taken, I think it is school prom by the looks of things. He'll be a big no from me. And the public agree. 77% go, we don't know who this person is. Um, Here's a new name, Daryl McCormack. Daryl McCormack, a recent climber, a good name to have in your back pocket. Peaky Blinders, good luck to your Leo Grande. And you may have seen him in the BBC thriller Woman in the Wall. No, I haven't because I haven't watched it. The issue here, of course, is that Callum's a black actor. So, can I just clarify because I got a bit confused then? Are you telling me
Yeah.
that Callum Turner is dating Dua Lipa
Yes.
or Daryl McCormack is dating Dua Lipa?
Callum, I think, has gone past dating and he's actually proposed.
Has he? Oh, right. I didn't see that. Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll skip through that bit then. Um, and then at the bottom, it says Jeremy Irons. It doesn't mean Jeremy Irons, does it? It very clearly means the father, surely. Sorry, the son. Too old. Oh, right. Okay. No, it does mean Jeremy Irons. Too old, you're thinking. Too famous. Too many bad guy roles under his belt. But here's my pitch. In the herb garden at the secluded Scottish cottage, an aging James Bond sits alone in a wicker chair with a vodka martini in hand. He squints out from under the rim of a Panama hat, haunted by the weight of his choices. This is just nonsense. It's
Yeah,
just nonsense.
let's just go no.
Let's go no. What do you know? 83% say no. Theo James is next, whatever that is.
Yes,
Uh,
I could say yes to Theo.
yes, I know you could, but in the role as opposed to just being your own womanly charms offered to him.
Yeah, he was great in The Gentleman.
Jinkinen.
He was all right in Divergence.
Okay.
So
Um,
yes.
only 37% of people agree with you. The
They
rest,
could not. Yeah, they must not have seen The Gentleman. Please go and watch the TV series The Gentleman by sort of Guy Ritchie. Doesn't direct every episode. You know which episodes, but which ones he's done. They are the better ones,
right.
but he's good in it.
The next one is Andrew Garfield, it says on this list.
I think he's
Again,
too old, but I absolutely love Andrew.
another
Yeah, they're saying he's
curveball.
41.
He's 41. 41, okay. I'll say no.
I'm going to
And
say yes.
only 16% agree with you. 84% say no. And then we're not going to look at Chittawell Ejiofor because that would be daft.
Great actor there.
Oh,
Great
absolutely.
voice.
Another guy here, Sope Dirisu, I think is that how
Not
you pronounce that?
sure who
From
that is.
He's from Gangs of London. It's an
I
excellent
haven't seen
show.
that.
He's done terribly well, but can't be Bond. Nicholas Holt. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, okay. Well, I don't have it. Do I have a box? Yes, I do.
I don't
Um,
mind Holt. I'll go yes for Holt.
it's a very slim margin. 51% say yes, 49 say no
Mm,
of those people. But yeah, okay, I think that's fair enough. Damson Idris, no,
very nice looking bloke.
absolutely, yeah. But
Not
see, this is the
Bond.
thing about these. You throw black actors into the mix, and it causes utter confusion because it's just they are terrific actors. We've seen them do their job; they're wonderful, but you
Very
can't
easy on the
mess
eye.
about with James Bond. It doesn't make you can't take a character and then just change the race of that character. Dev Patel,
Next one,
no.
next one, I don't know him.
Idris, no. Regé Jean, no. And Tom Holland. Oh, I got Tom Holland at the bottom here.
Ah,
Yeah.
now the other guy from Bridgerton, Rene Zun, or whatever his name is, Jean Page.
Reggie Jean Page.
Yeah, good looking bloke. Not
Absolutely.
Bond.
Yeah, no,
Good looking though.
can't happen. Tom
Oh, what do you
Holland.
think of the Irish guy?
You mean Killian Murphy? I like the way you've
Yeah,
stepped away
yeah.
from pronouncing these people's names and have just gone to nationalities. What about the Irish guy? Killian, yeah, lovely, but he won't do it. I'll say no just to see what's occurring. And
He gives me a slight psycho feel about him in the
that
eyes.
would be about right, I think. You wouldn't want to be. I'm sure he's a lovely fella, but his eyes say, "Don't meet me down a dark alley. I will kill you."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Tom
I
Hardy's next. Tom
love
Hardy's too old.
I love Tom Hardy, but yeah, too old, unfortunately.
Yeah, but again, slim margin. 53% of people say yes.
Mm.
47 say no. The youngster Robert Pattinson,
Nope.
two Batman,
Sorry.
and 77% say no. Sam Heughan.
Oh my God, you know I love Sam.
You're a big fan of Sam, aren't you?
Outlander, yep, love Sam.
What does
I
the
think
public
he's a
say?
tag too old, but I'm gonna go yes because 47 say
Yeah.
yes. I love Sam Heughan.
53 say no. Jack Loudon.
I'm on the fence. It's the first one I've been on the fence. I don't
This
know.
this result is a landslide against Jack Loudon.
Oh shit.
84% of people have gone not in a million years. Not
Oh
in a
wow.
million years. Um, Richard
Richard.
Madden, the Scotsman.
Mm, I like him, but I'm gonna go no.
And the public went no, but only just 56% said no.
Mm.
44 said yes. Riz Ahmed, we can skip over. Daniel Kaluuya, we can skip over.
Ooh, okay, we got a good one, Henry. What do you
Henry
think?
Henry Cavill. I mean,
You know, I'm gonna go no.
I'm going to go
You
yes.
know.
I was a big
Okay.
fan, and they're still a big fan. 64% say yes,
Wow.
36 say no. But
Do you know,
I think he's
I
too old.
wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised. I would not bet against him.
Yep, yep. Couldn't bet against him. But I think
Harris, my
that's
second choice.
your second choice. Is he the public's second choice?
I'm gonna have to go
Um,
yes.
do you know he's not? Absolutely landslided a no.
Oh God,
85%.
I hope that wasn't my fault.
No, well, it didn't come back to us because nobody knows where we were coming from. Because James
James,
Norton. James Norton's been around
no,
for ages.
I'm gonna go no.
Yeah, I'm going to
I
say
think
no.
he's a little old.
Oh, well, 60%
Oh,
say no. So there we go. That's
oh,
our
and
list of
yep.
possibles, utter nonsenses, very sillies. Um, all a bit strange, I think, frankly, but we're prepared to cut them some slack. Do you want to talk on the subject of your love of Jack Loudon? Do you want to talk Pride and Prejudice? There's a number of P and Ps out at the present time. Apparently, you've told me.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's two sort of productions of Pride and Prejudice with Mr. Darcy.
Mm.
And it's interesting that both of them, because of being put forward at some point or spoken about as Bond. And if you
Mhm.
think about Mr. Darcy, he does have a lot of James Bond qualities about him. And Harris Dickinson is doing the audiobook.
Oh, okay.
And it occurred to me with Harris Dickinson that he can actually play the Lord of the Manor, and he can also play your street Cockney Londoner.
Right.
He can go up and down, which is intriguing. There's a lot of actors that you just think can only be in one class
Right.
and can't actually play out of that sort of class system.
Versatile.
But he can. Yeah. So that intrigues me. And the other one is obviously Jack.
Jack Loudon.
Yes.
Loudon. Right.
So he's doing Mr. Darcy for Netflix, and that's in production at the moment. And I'm not hugely a fan of the cast of this because I can't really see where they're going because the list of the Bennett sisters, they all look different. And you they're supposed to be sisters, and you're supposed to be able to tell
Yeah.
which one is which. You know, one is a sort of, to simplify it, one's a Bible basher, one is looking for love. Elizabeth is very critical and the thinker of the family. Then you've got the two youngest ones that are a bit silly with her
She's no Agatha
books.
Christie, is she? I mean, this is fair. So if it's romance you're after, well, you're probably in the right ballpark. Um,
I haven't read Agatha Christie's romance books. I have heard that they're not very good, but I will give it. She wrote three under a pseudonym
yeah.
because they wouldn't publish them under, her
Well, yeah.
actual name, Agatha
Absolutely.
Christie.
Can't blame
But
them.
I would like to read them. But yes, it's interesting how Mr. Darcy is a certain character and it's very similar to Bond, and you've got these two people that are in the running for Bond at the moment playing Mr. Darcy. And that
Uh,
kind of leads us round to a bit of news about your favourite, Henry.
Henry, yes, Henry Cavill, who, of course, we talked about a moment ago, and we've seen the screen test and all the bits and pieces. Now, he was a shoe-in to come second to Daniel Craig for Casino Royale, and evidently, it says where's this come from? This is from the Deadline, isn't it? It says Henry Cavill injured during training for Highlander production, likely pushed to early 26. We hear that Henry Cavill was injured during pre-production while training for Amazon MGM Studios' United Artists Highlander set. As a result, production will be delayed on the Chad Stahelski directed reboot of the cult IP until likely top of next year. Now, is it telling me anything else
No.
regarding it? No, it's not. So it's only the
All
basis
the
that there has been an
trades.
injury. They all
Yeah, all
carried it,
the
did they?
trades have picked it up. All the trades picked it up. The Hollywood Reporter, all of them have picked it up. There's a lot of clickbait out there saying horrific accident, and then when you click on it, it's that same bog standard. I mean, I know we were talking a little about what it could be. You immediately think horses or swords. I noticed you thought maybe costume.
Yes, he's had some sort of wardrobe malfunction. His schlong probably fell out, and they've gone, "Oh my God, you've got a terrible injury." Oh, that's yours, is it? Jesus Christ! Well, we should write that into the script, shouldn't we? And for one so old, good, well done, Henry. Far too much shilajit in his diet, clearly. Whatever it is, I mean, the fact that it's been moved to early 2026. as opposed to later 2026, would probably suggest something about the size of the injury or the issue with the injury. It could be a muscle pull. He may have dislocated something. It could be something that, if he's doing sword work or he's doing fight work or whatever it is. I mean, it's most likely to be an injury containing a cut or a slash or a something. We know, of course, referring back to Bond, that when Pierce was doing the fight with the guy in and I'm just trying to think about what Tomorrow Never Dies, when it was the fight in the Tomorrow printing press section. He has a fight with a guy with a metal helmet on, and manages to get himself a nasty little cut. If you ever see the footage, the cut across his lip here, which is why when he's walking up to the hotel, um, he's being filmed from the back, so you can't see. He's got a stitch in or something of that nature, and he has a little look over his shoulder just to see that there's a car turning, and that, but you don't see the rest of his face. By the time they then get back to the interiors, it's not so bad, but he still has this scar. I forget which side it's on, but he still has this scar. If you're able to work round it, so be it. Evidently, because they've stopped production and pushed it back, this may be something that has physically said, well, we got to deal with this now. Let's just call a halt to it, and they might film other units while they're doing that, but anything directly involved with Henry will have to wait. So we don't know about the severity of the whole thing. We
I'm
wish him
slightly
well.
intrigued. Yeah, I'm slightly intrigued because I can't find any other follow-up to that. I can't find
Which
out whether he had to go to hospital
Exactly, which means it's
or
going to be one
exactly
of
what it
one thing
is.
or another. Either it is, they're keeping it all under wraps and they've done a really good job of just people will want to know why nothing's being filmed, therefore let's just put some facts out, or it's absolute nonsense from start to finish. And they've said we need to find a reason why we can't do any filming, apart from the fact we don't have a script and everything's horrible. Let's say that Henry got injured. Okay, fine, cool. Let's do that. So
But
that's a possible.
Russell Crowe is on a plane, so he's supposed to be there or he's going to be there because he's been cast. And I absolutely adore Russell Crowe, who is always Russell Crowe. So,
Yes.
and I know he's got a good relationship with Henry because they've done a lot of films together. So I can't wait to see them together on screen.
Yeah, I mean it's the same with everything. Highlander is one of my favorite movies of all time, and the only thing I will say to Chad Stahelski, I've only spoken to him on one occasion. I've never met him, but I imagine there are huge amounts of people the world over who are just going, Chad, please don't fuck it up. Just don't fuck it up. Make it something that we are be proud of and that we can go back 20 years from now, watch Highlander the original and watch yours back to back and go, Jesus, that was good, and then start and do it again. That's all anybody wants to do. If anybody worth their salt that during that audition period for a Bond director has gone to, and again they lie through their teeth. They will have gone to Denis Villeneuve and said, Denis, we'd like you to do this job on one criteria: you do not fuck it up. All right, sign here. I know the contract. There's the contract there, and it says underneath, I, Denis Villeneuve, promise faithfully not to fuck up Bond. All right, sign that, please. And if you've signed that, you have an obligation. They said exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. To Lisa Tamori. I can't even say the name without getting that little lump in my throat. Um, there are just so many things that Bond directors have said, no, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to make it daft. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. You've signed a contract, but it needs to be something in it that says you will not fuck it up, because if you do, we will take you around the back of the studio and we will break your legs with a baseball bat, you clown. Right? Absolutely essential.
Well, I'd like to see that held up in court. I'd like to go
Absolutely.
that before a judge and the judge decides if you effed it up or not.
Yeah, I think common sense would prevail. I think you should go in front of a judge and you should say, my lord, we would like to show you this particular movie. And at the end of it, there are two boxes. It's a yes, no option. Did the director fuck it up? All right, that's the thing. It's a yes, no answer. You touch either way, and we will stand by that decision. Incidentally, if you say no, you're wrong and we'll go to the appellant court. But
And
this is the point.
unfortunately, to go back to the Thursday Murder Club,
Oh,
I'm gonna have to
oh
pick a
my
certain
word.
box for that one.
Yeah, Mr. Columbus, what were you doing? If you haven't seen Thursday Murder, we're not giving it away, right? But I urge you, it's on Netflix at the minute. If you've got Netflix, go watch it. Thursday Murder Club has all the hallmarks of being a good old-fashioned uh, rip-roaring yarn about a bunch of folk who have a Thursday Murder Club. That's what they do. They have this little club, they get together and they look at cold cases. But what they're looking at is cold cases which are actually real, it turns out. And you go, okay, fine. And there's a little premise and there's a couple of characters and it's all nice and dandy. And you go, this should be nice. And it just turns into a bit of nonsense, unfortunately, because it's not terribly well written. And we can't blame Richard Osman for that. But it's not terribly well written. The script isn't terribly well written. It's it's directed oddly. This is Chris Columbus who's directed this. You know, this man has carries with him two huge suitcases full of kudos. I mean, he really is an extraordinary individual, and yet has produced this. And on the standard of the stuff, you know, is he not trying hard enough? Is it the fact that you're only as good? And I think there's a lot of this. You're only as good as the stuff you are provided with. But at some point, before signing on as director, he has to go through this and go, not sure. That needs changing.
But he
That
is
should be
he's
changed.
responsible for the characters and the actors. So he could easily have told some of the actors that went into pantomime to tone it down so that there was a tone that went all the way through it. And he could have took the script and he could have read the book. I don't know if he bothered to read the book, but he could have read the book and went, there's two major changes from the book that's going to F up all the future books in the series. So why is that being done?
Do you know who wrote the script, incidentally? I found this very interesting when I looked at the credits. Did you
No,
notice this? Katie
no,
Brand. Do you know Katie Brand?
no.
Katie Brand is a comedian primarily. She's known for a series. There was a television series called Katie Brand's Big Ass Show, and for a thing on Channel 4 called Comedy Lab. And you know, she's done a few bits and pieces. She's been very successful in certain bits as far as stand-up's concerned. She's sort of taken, she's done Nevermind the Buzzcocks and Strictly Come Dancing and all these sort of bits and pieces and special stuff. Is she? And I'm not just taking anything away from her from a comedic and from a writing perspective for writing for herself. Is she the right person to write the script for this movie? No, I don't think she is. And I think that
That's an interesting approach because it is not funny.
no,
It's
there are moments of, and again, it's very much a case of the actors being able to deliver the lines and be able to deliver the gag there. This is where this is where the funny lands on this one here. Or the funny is because this has been said and it's that aside that you're going to do, that's where the funny happens. To then give that line to somebody who wouldn't know an aside if it hit them with a baseball bat is tricky. You know, they're surrounded by comedic actors. The guy who plays the CID guy, he's a comedic actor.
But he's done a lot of dark stuff as
He's done
well.
absolutely done a lot of dark stuff, but he's
And
very versatile.
yeah, he's awful in this,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Mm.
because he plays it too light and too just, I mean, it's actually a very dark story. When you write it down, there is dead people in it. And there's a dementia, there's what happens at the end of your life and you end up in an old people's home. There's so much darkness in it, and the books carry on that way.
Yeah.
So then to have somebody playing it like they're in a pantomime, it just felt weird. And there's so much blue screen going on
Yeah,
that the
I
place
noticed
doesn't
that.
feel real.
I mean,
And I don't understand.
the locations are obviously very real locations. They look lovely, and I thought, oh, this is. I wonder. I didn't even know. I didn't even find out where it was filmed, but it looked terribly good. And then there were a great deal of blue screen shots, which I thought were very odd. Anyway, I mean,
Maybe
that's the
he
least of
thought,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe he thought he was in Hogwarts. I don't know.
that's
And he's only used to having a blue screen behind
that's the
him.
least
I
of
don't
our
know.
concerns, I think, under the circumstances. Bond fans also note, apart from Pierce being in it and Jonathan Price being in it, and very good he is too. Um, Music is by Thomas Newman, and again, it's is it in the pantheon of his great scores? No, it's not. I mean, it's really very ordinary. There's nothing particularly exciting about it, but I dare say that that'll be available at some point. Um, so if you want to have a listen to that, do so. Again, there wasn't anything really significant in it where I thought, oh, that's quite nice. That's Newman-esque. If it wasn't for American Beauty, I wouldn't know who Thomas Newman was. I mean, it's just for me one of the great scores of our time. It's an absolutely gorgeous score on its own. I think it works as a piece of music from start to finish. It doesn't necessarily need to be connected to a movie, but it's gorgeous. And on the strength of that, for him getting the movies that he's got and Bond, although he's got that connection with the director, of course. Well, I don't know. I just think that a lot of composers peak too soon, and I think that he, even though he's from extraordinary stock, of course, Lionel Newman his father? Yes, Lionel Newman his father. Alfred Newman, of course, was his grandfather, I think. So they've all been from composing stock from a long way back, and he's very good at what he does. Does this score make any difference? No, it doesn't. No, it could have just had white noise in the background of it. You probably got away with it. A couple of nice songs, though. I will say that. A big fan of what's the guy? It's Yusuf Islam, Cat Stevens, as he used to be. There's a lovely couple of those songs in there, which I like very much. Apart from that, well. So anyway, we said this last week when we had a little chat about it, but don't let it put you off. But go and see it, make your own mind up, and then leave us some comments down below to say, yes, you're right, or what are you talking about? This is the reason why I like this movie. I love the books, and this movie is going to be one of the more like this, please. Will they cast the same people over and over again? Will they be able to afford to cast the same people over and over again? Celia, also, can I say, Celia Imrie in with this lot, because it's Helen Mirren, it's Pierce, it's Ben
Ben.
Kingsley, or Sir Ben, as he has to be referred to on set, otherwise he strops off to his Winnebago and moans. Celia Imrie to be in this group is an excellent piece of casting. She's terrific. She doesn't do enough leading lady roles. She's a supporting cast member, but she is part of that club and therefore deserves her place against these people.